Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Christian Ray, and you have a last name, Flores. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. Thank you,
Wow.
Caroline.
Thank you that you said yes to our episode today. I'm so happy. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How about yourself?
Yes, I love to see all the colors there. Yes, in your video settings. Yes. Okay. I would love to introduce you to the audience. You are an entrepreneur, international recording artist, philanthropist, and performance coach. From a child refugee in Chile to a pop star in Eastern Europe, Christian has led philanthropic projects and entrepreneurial ventures worldwide. You are based in Austin, Texas, and you co-founded Third Drive Media, raising millions for startups, and the Ascend Mission Fund, which supports children in Mozambique and Ukraine. Through Exponential, you coach business and nonprofit leaders, and you are also the host of the Headspace by Christian Ray Flores podcast and author of Little Book of Big Reasons to Love America. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast, Christian Ray.
Thank you very much for having me, Caroline.
It's so inspiring, your journey, and you have to tell us all about your little book. What is the biggest thing, the biggest reason to love America?
Oh, that's a good place to start. I think for me the biggest thing is this, and obviously everybody has their happy place, but for me, I had to. I felt like my whole life that I didn't belong anywhere because I was a refugee. So I changed 4 continents by age 7, and everywhere I went, I was just sort of a foreigner in one way or another, and an immigrant. And when I came to the States, what I noticed is that on some deep level, the society here understands or has this awareness that everybody here is from somewhere else. Even if they were born here, their families, their grandparents came from somewhere else. So I felt personally that I belong all of a sudden, that I didn't feel like an outsider.
That's great. And when you said those words, happy place, I have to show you something.
Okay.
You won't believe. I have this thing, my happy place, and I take it everywhere I go. And then I make a picture, and this is my happy place, wherever I am.
I love
Wow,
that. That's great.
so good. Okay, so I have a question. The next question: how did your early experiences as a child refugee shape your journey into entrepreneurship and philanthropy?
I think for me, the entrepreneurship piece is pretty straightforward. You can interpret instability and lack of certainty that comes with being a refugee and an immigrant and exile, things like that, as okay, I am at a huge disadvantage, right? Things change. I have no control over them. But there's another way of looking at it. And somehow I intuitively connected to that piece where I sort of realized at some point that if nothing is certain, then everything is possible. So if everything is possible, I can try new things and even risk a little bit. And what do I have to lose, right? And I think that makes a very good entrepreneur if you don't mind the risk, don't mind uncertainty, and are willing to experiment quite a bit. When it comes to philanthropy, I think it's exposure to extreme poverty. That's probably the biggest influence. When you don't just intellectually know that people in many parts of the world have very little, and more importantly, I think as an entrepreneur, as an economist, you realize that doing well economically requires that you climb at a certain ladder of value and marketplace and things like that. But if you grow up in a place like Mozambique, where maybe half of the population lives on under $2 a day, you realize that many of those people can't really reach even the bottom step of the ladder. So philanthropy, in my mind, is helping them get to the very first step, equipping them so they can climb it well and then get themselves out of poverty. So to me, that's my main motivation with philanthropy. I really want to help children get a chance, and then it's up to them. what they do with it.
Wow, that's so true. Yes, you can show the way, but they have to walk the way by themselves, of course, and make a decision for their life. This is so true what you said. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I understand now what you mean, what your journey is about. What were some of the key challenges you faced transitioning from a pop star in Eastern Europe to leading philanthropic and entrepreneurial projects in the US?
I think a lot of it is just humility and learning new things, right? And I think honestly, that's a secret to success in the long run. Is that if you don't just sort of lay in your laurels, right? What you have achieved, you have a status, you have brand recognition, perhaps you have some respect in whatever it is that you do, and at some point you want to make a change, and people are fearful of change, so they stay in their status quo for sometimes longer than that is healthy. And for me, I think because of the so much instability early on, I was just okay with shifting and starting over. So when I moved to the US, when I'm in Eastern Europe, Russia, former Soviet Union, people knew who I was in the decade that I was active there. When I moved to the US, no one cares who you are. So that's a humbling experience. And at the same time, it's refreshing because you can sort of start over and add value and learn, be humble, assimilate, see how people operate, learn from the best practices. And to me, that was sort of the big thing. It's humbling, it's hard, it's not easy at all. But if you have the right attitude and mindset, do you have the right skills, I guess, right? Learning skills, stress management skills, mindset skills, you can do incredible things, even if you start from zero. And I think more people should know and learn those skills, I think.
Oh, this is very inspiring, starting from zero as well. And what you said before about uncertainty, I love this word so much. And I heard someone saying that there's no safer place than uncertainty, because from that, it is the unknown, right? And all the answers or all the solutions and results we don't have right now come from the unknown, actually.
Yes, that's exactly it. The
Mhm.
the safest, the most
Mhm.
risky thing to do is to not take risks, because in reality, life changes all the time, all the time. So if you get comfortable with that, take more risks. That is actually de-risking in the long run.
Yes, and also fail faster, right? There's
That's
fail
right.
fast. And then, yeah,
That's
there
right.
was this quote. I loved it so much. Thank you for sharing. And can you share the inspiration behind founding Third Drive Media and its impact on startups and nonprofits?
Oh, well, for me, it was because I come from show business, right? So I was my first digital media skills were developed as a pop star. I produced other bands, so I was a producer as well. So you learn all of the stuff about brand positioning, what the audience, what they respond to, how to present an image, how to create the products that create trust, create traction. Brand recognition, all those things in myself and other projects that I developed. So then when you look at businesses, then you realize, you know what? Actually, that's the same thing. You can make some small adjustments, um, but when I compare myself to some other marketers, a lot of them are very technical. So a lot of them are about numbers, SEO, all these paid ads. I don't do any of this thing, but what I do very well, better than most, is understanding how somebody can develop either their startup or their personal brand. If you are a speaker or coach or podcaster, or somebody who wants to really establish themselves as an authority, as a thought leader, how to create the persona that matches who you actually are in your essence, and how to communicate that, more importantly, to the public in a way that is compelling. So that was sort of the transition. That was the inspiration behind Third Drive, is that I realized that the same principles apply, and I had skills, because my skills were a little bit higher on this, because I come from show business. The expectations are really high. I could do that for businesses and founders and people who develop personal brands better. So it led to a much broader sort of group of people to serve, higher quality. We won a bunch of awards for video, website creation, things like that. And we're still helping brands and personal brands to develop these days.
Wow, I love what you said. It's about showcasing businesses instead of show businesses, and also the art of showing up, for example, and you are not afraid of big audiences, right? So you can show other people how to do this, how to
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow, I
And it's
love
the art of communication for many of us, right? So the biggest fear is public speaking for most people. And if I know how to speak, how to communicate, how to show up confidently, body language, tone, structure, storytelling, all of those things are incredibly valuable, both in public speaking and also in communication in general, like presentations, pitch decks. When you try to get investors to help you in your startup. So we do all of those things, and it comes from the same place. So that's the inspiration.
Wow, absolutely. I understand. So I would say your journey is from uncertainty to certainty, to doing things in a certain way. We learned this from Wallace D. Wattles' book, The Science of Getting Rich, right? And if you know this book, maybe you know Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is also a great thought leader. You
Yeah.
mentioned this word. And yeah, thank you for sharing. Let's have a look at another question. What advice do you have for leaders looking to stay at the top of their game in both business and philanthropy?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one of the there's I'm going to rattle off four things for you. I think that hopefully will be helpful to your audience. So the first one is, if you want to do great things and you want to be the best in your industry, the top 1%, is managing stress. Um, and understanding how to go from anxiety, stress, uncertainty to clarity and creativity daily, on a daily basis, on demand, because your demands are daily. You can't just be inspired one day a month. You have to be inspired every day. And if you want to do great work, that comes with the territory that you're stressed, because you're stepping into unknown territories all the time. So if you want to live in that space of excellence in top performance, understanding the routines, the habits, the mindsets to de-stress and be creative every day, that is a big shift. The second one is, how do you go from fragmented attention to focused effort and progress? So anyone who starts anything new, it doesn't matter where the starting point is, will be wearing multiple hats, competing interests. Fragmentation is your enemy. Understanding what the main focus is and moving in that direction, that's another thing. So clarity is an important piece. People just they get stuck because they're not clear where they're going and how to get there. The third piece is how to deal with the inevitable evolutionary side product of starting new things, and that is your brain attacking you with imposter syndrome, doubt, second guessing, because it's an evolutionary sort of part of who we are biologically. We want to fit into our tribe. We don't want to get rejected. We don't want to fail. We don't want to feel shame and from the people around us. But it's all completely irrational. It doesn't have anything to do with reality. So sort of developing the ability to manage those things and understand, this is what a feeling, but it's not reality. And therefore not engaging in escapist behavior, because you want to escape from reality, and you do it through addictions, through binging on Netflix, through all kinds of things, shopping, gambling, all kinds of things that could be on the surface not very destructive, but they're actually definitely distracting from your mission. So the inner game, to winning that inner game, is a big deal. And the fourth piece is really understanding that for the long run, if you want to excel, you need to be well-rounded as a human being. And success doesn't come in one dimension, it comes across multiple dimensions. And if you don't pay attention to that, eventually you might be successful in one space, but weakness in other areas will really start compromising your main thing at the end of the day. So if you want to win long term and be flourishing and be healthy and have an impact in the world, you have to pay attention to things like spiritual development and family and friendships and work and finances and your health, your fitness, all of those things.
Yes, I love what you shared about focus. the opposite of distracting, letting ourselves distracting by things that are not relevant, not serving our goals, our purposes, right? And
Yeah.
what is the one thing? Do you have an exercise to train focus, to stay focused?
Not for yes. I mean, it's basically writing down your goals and keeping track of them. There was a study, I believe it was in Yale, if I'm not mistaken, a while ago, and they basically tracked MBA, business school students who wrote their goals at the graduating class, and then they followed up with them a few years later. And basically, I think it was the 5% of people who wrote down their goals and kept track of them combined made more money. They probably made, I don't remember what it was, but it was like 90% more money than the rest of the class combined.
Yeah.
So the 5% made 95% more money a few years later just by one thing. They knew exactly what they wanted, they wrote it down, and they kept track of it.
Yes. Here we talk about certainty again, clarity as well. You mentioned it, having a clear goal in mind. And this would be my last question for you. Do you set goals? And there's no question. Of course, you set goals for yourself after you told us that, or intentions. And what is one of your next goals?
You know what? I have quite a few of them, but I would say my next goal would be to be able to serve more people in my coaching program. And the reason for that is because I am actually fragmented, ironically, because I have a digital media company, I run a nonprofit in Africa, and I have the coaching program. So in able to expand and serve more people in my performance coaching practice and more clients who want to achieve higher goals and all of that, I have to sort of delegate, rearrange, train, make all kinds of little changes to the other things that I'm interested in, so that I'm freed up to serve as a coach in a broader and deeper way.
I understand you have to accept help as well.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
That's what many entrepreneurs are not used to, let's say this. And now is time for your last thoughts to the audience, please.
Oh, my last thoughts. You know
Mhm.
what? Honestly, I would say this. I don't remember who wrote this, but it was an author, and he said most people live a life of quiet desperation. Most men live lives of quiet desperation. And I think that is true, and that is tragic. And I think there's no good reason for you to live a life of quiet desperation. And that requires courage to really explore what you were meant to do on this earth, who you are meant to help, and the courage to make the changes required to live into that vision, in that individual mission that you may have. And it's hard to do. And my appeal to you is get help, get guidance, get coaching, get mentorship. It could be free, it could be paid, but it's almost impossible to reach higher and stay high performing for an extended period of time unless you have that, unless you have guidance and help and accountability. And if you make that courageous step to ask for help, to understand, okay, I need to make changes. Nothing will change until you change. Nothing will change. So take that step, whatever it looks like for you. And I promise you that it's two things. One, it's going to be hard. Second, you'll never regret it.
That's so awesome what you shared. We always regret the things we didn't do, right? And
That's
if we
right.
have courage enough, then we take the first step.
That's
And
right.
please, and you help the people to reach their goals as well. So please reach out to Christian. He's amazing. Where can we find you?
You can two places. One, you can go to christianrayflores.com, and it's my newsletter. There's about 20,000 subscribers to it. Every week I send out a valuable piece of advice that addresses one of the key things that we talk about, either video or text or both. And then the other piece that I offer that is really helpful, if you go to the website exponential.life, without the E, so it starts with an X. It's a cool way to spell it, exponential.life. You'll find a free scorecard assessment that I basically use with all of my clients, and it's free to you. And it asks you a bunch of questions, maybe like 40 or so. It takes about 5-6 minutes to complete, but it'll send it to your inbox, the exact landscape of your life right now, which I think is a very important piece for you to see. Oh, I'm really good here, but I need some help there. And it addresses the most important dimensions of life according to most of the most authoritative studies. And it gives you a clear picture of your starting point, where you are now, so you can now decide where do you want to go from here. So exponential.life without the E, that's for the scorecard, and christianrayflores.com is for the free newsletter that comes out every Sunday.
Wow. I will check this out right after our episode. Thank you for this interview. It was amazing.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I appreciate it.
And see you in the next episode.